The Government Spying on Us, Eric Swalwell, and the Obama Presidential Library. All that and more today on The Nathan Hale Show. Well, folks, here we are. We are back. It is Friday, April 17th, 2026. And I gotta tell you, I have had Backstreet Boys songs stuck in my head like all day today. I don't know what it is. I have just had song after song after song from the Backstreet Boys stuck in my head. And I can't just say one thing. You know, I can say anything I want. First off, this is my show. I'll say what I want. But what I will say, you're gonna have to listen to it. If I'm gonna say it, you're gonna have to listen. I want to see a return of the boy band, and not some little frilly, girly boy band. I mean like actual boy bands like the Backstreet Boys and One Direction and NSYNC. I want to see a return of the boy band era to the American zeitgeist. That's all I have to say on this matter. Thank you for your attention. Now, we've got a lot to talk about, so let's just get right into it. So, the Senate is extending surveillance powers until April 30th after some chaotic House votes. So the Senate, and pull up my slides here. Oh, whoa, okay, that is for later. Did not mean to show you all that already. Let's we gotta skip back on this one, guys. That's our next story. Whoa, that was way too. I'm sorry for the jump scare that I just shoved the image of that right into your face. Did not mean to do it. Truly did not. Hopefully, I do not get a strike on YouTube for showing an image of a congressman getting up to sexual conduct with a potential Chinese spy? Question mark? Maybe another one? So, the Senate is extending surveillance powers until April 30th after chaotic House votes. So, the Senate approved a short-term renewal until April 30th for a controversial surveillance program used by U.S. spy agencies following a chaotic post-midnight scramble in the House to keep the authority from expiring in a matter of days. Now, this is the FISA. This is FISA, what, Section 702, I think it is, of FISA, that has to do with foreign intelligence. But as we know, the arms of the intelligence community, while they are designed to keep America safe from foreign threats, we know that the government is very concerned with threats that are originating from our own country and our own citizens. So they're spying on us too. So anytime we're talking about this, you're going to hear congressmen saying that this is only for foreign individuals. We all know they're spying on Americans too, folks. We all know it's happening. So a measure cleared by the Senate by voice vote Friday. By the way, they're wanting to keep this all, under the bed. They're wanting to keep this out of the way, back in the closet. They want to throw me and all the FISA stuff back in the closet. They don't want anyone knowing about it. They don't want to be out to anyone, right? They don't want anyone to know what they're getting up to. So they did it by with a voice vote without a formal roll call, the same way it was approved hours early in the House. House did the same way as the Senate. They're all corrupt. As Congress raced to meet a Monday deadline and send it to President Donald Trump for his signature. It's all setting up another showdown in a matter of weeks as Congress dives into the surveillance tool that pits Americans' privacy rights against what U.S. officials have long said is a uniquely effective program for the security of the country. So, I will point out, there were quite a few Republicans that voted against this, and by quite a few, I mean 20. I encourage you to go look up the list and see if your local neighborhood congressman is on there for those who voted against this. Democrats are suddenly coming out and acting like they are against surveillance of Americans all of a sudden. When it was the Obama administration that really perpetuated, which we're going to talk about that in just a minute, who really perpetuated this. If you'll remember, quite a few years ago now, Edward Snowden released a ton of information about how the U.S. government was spying on Americans under the guise of getting foreign intelligence. Now, FISA stands for the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, and this was a part of the Patriot Act. This was all post 9/11, where America collectively, we gave up our liberties for quote unquote security. The amount of security we received, I don't know. Do you feel so safe with the American government spying on you? I don't feel so safe with it happening, but we all know it's happening. We all know they have access to all of our webcams and our microphones and all of that. We all know it's happening, right? No one's, I don't feel like anyone's really denying that's happening, except for the government themselves, but we know it's happening. I refuse to believe until someone who I truly trust comes out and says that this is not happening. I refuse to believe that's not happening. I gotta say, not that I suddenly have turned on Tulsi Gabbard or anything, but Tulsi Gabbard is leading the intelligence communities and everything. I've heard nothing from her about reforms in the intelligence communities. I'm actually a little disappointed with all that. So what gives? Anyways, so quick little fact for you. So in 33 years, the FISA court system approved 34,000 FISA requests. Now, there are these secret courts that exist somewhere in the government that basically, when a member of the intelligence community wants to go and spy on someone anywhere in the world, right? They go to the FISA judge and they say, "Hey, judge, we want to spy on this person." And the judge goes, "Okay," and approves it. That's basically what happens, right? So in 33 years, the courts approved, these FISA courts, they approved 34,000 FISA requests. You know how many they denied? 11. I can almost count on one hand. They denied 11 of them. They denied 11. Barely any, right? Barely any. So it is just very disappointing. And by the way, they don't need probable cause for this either. They can just do it to anyone. So, it's scary to me as an American to know things like this are going on. It's crazy to me that they're doing this in the cover of night. These votes were happening, guys. These votes were happening at like 2 a.m. in the morning last night. They're doing it literally in the middle of the night while we are all sleeping. I don't like to go off on conspiracies or anything on this show, folks, but I'm just telling you the facts of what happened. You can come to your conclusions of this. Call up your congressmen and tell them that you don't want the government to be spying on you, right? And yes, this may all be just to spy on foreigners, but if the technology is there to spy on people in other countries, it's there to spy on us, right? And we know it's happening. I am sure that my text messages somewhere along the line are being run through the intelligence community system and filed away somewhere and make sure I'm not a terrorist, right? So I gotta hand it to the Democrats. Good on them for a lot of them voting stuff like this down. I'm happy to see it, but also let's not pretend like they were not also voting to extend this just a couple years ago when Joe Biden was president. I swear, Congress has turned into nothing more than voting against whatever the current sitting president wants. By the way, Trump wants this. This is a Trump thing that Trump wants. So he's putting pressure on these congressmen to get this through. So that's all I gotta say about that. We're gonna move on to Eric Swalwell now, guys. Quick little story about Americans being spied on. Let's talk about some other spy action going on. So Democrats, guys, they're shocked. Democrats are shocked that Eric Swalwell is a sex offender. He's going around sleeping with other women, possibly other men. We don't know, but definitely women. And I love that they're acting like this is the first time this has been alleged. So Eric Swalwell, if you remember, this gentleman right here, main page, front page, when it came to all of these sexual assault allegations happening against Brett Kavanaugh when he was seeking a nomination for the Supreme Court, Eric Swalwell has ended his campaign. So he was running for governor of California to replace Gavin Newsom. Ended his campaign for California governor and resigned from Congress. A double whammy, guys. Swalwell made his decision after several women accused him of doing what everyone knew he was doing, but no one said he was doing until it turned out his creepy gubernatorial campaign might get a Republican elected to the state of California. So I have a few questions for Eric Swalwell. Number one, who is this woman? So this woman says that she was assaulted. My first question, who's this woman? Is she or is she not a Chinese spy? I feel like no one is asking about this, right? Don't you guys remember a couple years ago, wasn't Eric Swalwell the one who was wrapped up with sleeping with Chinese spies or giving intelligence to women he was sleeping with who happen to be Chinese spies? Is this woman a Chinese spy or not? Is she working for China? That's my first question I want to know. My second question, who's this gentleman right here? Who's this guy? Because there's two men on the bed, one woman. Another woman goes popping out of the back of the hotel room at some point. We don't know what her deal is. I want to know who this other gentleman is. Was Eric Swalwell really truly there for this woman, or was he there for this gentleman? And is this gentleman Ruben Gallego, or whatever the heck his name is? Isn't he like a senator from Arizona? It looks just like this guy. Let's go back. You see the beard and everything. Let's go forward. Vague, I mean, similar body types, I must say. I mean, you know, he's got the beard and everything. Could it be the same guy? I don't know. Could another senator be implicated in on this story? I don't know. I feel like no one is asking these questions. I'm going to pull Candace Owens here, folks, and say, I'm just asking questions. Okay, I'm just asking questions. I want to know what's going on. I want to know, could Eric Swalwell, in fact, be gay for another senator? And by gay, I truly mean gay in a bad way. So, it just blows my mind that this has happened. Eric Swalwell, accused of sexually assaulting a woman, possibly raping her, right? There's video evidence that this woman was at least there, right? That's better than they could produce in the Kavanaugh trial, right? And where is the outreach from all the Democrats, honestly? I feel like this should be like front page news for all the Democrats. Someone needs to wake up Mazie Hirono from Hawaii and let her know that one of her colleagues, a man, by the way, may have assaulted a woman. Let's play the clip.
The men in this country and the men in this committee, and many of them, believe me, because we all signed on to this letter to demand an FBI investigation, but really, guess who's perpetuating all of these kinds of actions? It's the men in this country, and I just want to say to the men in this country, just shut up and step up. Do the right thing for a change. Okay, you can see I'm a little upset by this, you know, the unfairness of it.
You heard it there, guys. Sit down. I'm sitting, guys. I'm sitting right now. I'm sat for Eric Swalwell. I actually, you know, if I was truly being a good man in this country, I really shouldn't even be talking about this at all when it comes down to it. I really need to go get a woman on this show. Actually, guys, for this next moment, I identify as a woman. Okay? So I'm not a man right now. I am in fact a woman. I am Nathan Hale, she, her. By the way, for just this segment, okay, until we're finished with this. In this moment, I'm a woman. Speaking as a woman who knows what I'm talking about on this subject as a woman, I entirely agree with the senator on this, that when women come out, women like me come out and say that they were assaulted, we need to believe them. We need to believe all women whenever it happens, no matter who it's from, regardless of the evidence that exists. And I truly am holding this senator accountable because I have not seen her on the steps of Capitol Hill saying that this needs to happen, saying that we need to have a full FBI investigation into this matter. I am demanding that this man be brought before the FBI and there's a full FBI investigation in this matter. We need to find out if this woman's a Chinese spy and if another senator is implicated or not in all of this, because this could be a much bigger case than we think it is. And biggest of all, is Eric Swalwell, in fact, gay or not? Maybe bi. He could be. Could there be a little bisexuality floating around? I feel like you have to be a little bi if you're going to have a what appears to be the starts of a threesome with a man. I'm just saying. It's a little gay, right? I'm gay and I want to do that. So that's all we gotta say about that. So it's just so crazy this is happening. But in all seriousness, folks, by the way, I'm no longer a woman now. We're back to reality. I'm no longer a woman. In all seriousness, I do believe that if you're a woman coming on saying that you were assaulted by someone, I think that we as a society deserve to go and investigate that and see if anything happened there. I appreciate that it seems like this didn't happen that long ago, right? When you had the whole Brett Kavanaugh trial, I have a hard time believing women who they say that they were assaulted and they're just now talking about it like 25 years later, right? I have a hard time believing that. That was at least the case with all the Brett Kavanaugh stuff, right? Brett Kavanaugh gets nominated to be a member of the Supreme Court. Had no issues before then. All of a sudden, this woman shows up saying that she was assaulted by him at a party. That's what the senator was speaking about in that clip. Was that we need to believe women when they come out and have allegations against a man like this. And there's like no evidence to support at all that she was there. She couldn't even remember the year that she was at the party, right? Isn't that the whole thing? I feel like that was a part of it. Correct me if I'm wrong. So at least with this, we have some video evidence. At least this woman was at least in the same room as Eric Swalwell. I mean, that's better than a lot of these cases against Republicans have been, I must say. But I'm glad to see that he resigned over this. I'm glad to see that he did. If there was nothing there to the story, I don't feel that he would have resigned and ended his campaign. On top of that, he was running a really creepy campaign in California. I watched some of these videos of him out on the campaign trail and everything. He's just a weird guy, He's just a weird dude going and sleeping with Chinese spies. And, yeah. It's just, it's crazy times that we live in, folks. That's all I gotta say about that. Let's go and move on. We got one more story to talk about. Let's get these guys out of the way. The Obama Presidential Library, folks, is finally opening up its doors to the public. It's almost there. They're almost finished with it. It's only been, how long has it been, folks? It's only been 3,427 days since Obama was the president. It seems like so much longer than that, which is crazy for me to say. But it truly feels like we've lived a lifetime in the past 8 years when it comes to national politics. I feel like I've lived a whole lifetime. So, the Obama Museum, the Obama Presidential Library, sets records, including how much it'll cost you to get in. Several other records were set as well. This is just one of them. So visitors to the Obama Presidential Center Museum, when it opens in Chicago this summer, can expect to pay more for admission than any other presidential library. More to these folks right here, folks. More to these people. A new report from the Wall Street Journal found that the $30 adult ticket price for entry into the Obama Museum is more than any other presidential museum and 59% higher than the average price for all presidents since John F. Kennedy. I believe John F. Kennedy was kind of the first president to open up a presidential library. I feel like it kind of happened. I feel like I know Truman has one. I'm not entirely sure what the whole history of the whole presidential library system is. I have to go and look into that. It's pretty interesting. I feel like I've watched a YouTube video or something on it, but I know it really kicked off with like presidents having these big libraries. I feel like with John F. Kennedy. So the museum, which is set to open on June 19th, is that Juneteenth? Is June 19th Juneteenth? Is that why they picked June 19th? Just wondering. Mark your calendars, folks, for June 19th. I will not be anywhere near Chicago on June 19th, I must say, for good reason. It will charge $30 for adults and $23 for kids between ages 3 and 11. So $30 for an adult, that's 12 and up, by the way. only 23 for kids though. And 26 for adult residents. You get a $4 discount if you're an Illinois resident, guys. $4 off. What a steal to go see the Obama archives. So $26 for adult residents of Illinois and $15 for children residents of Illinois. Illinois residents will be required to show proof of residency at the museum with a valid photo ID, Illinois driver's license, state ID, or city-issued ID. Come again? Illinois residents will be required to show proof of residency at the museum with a valid photo ID, Illinois driver's license, state ID, or city-issued ID. And this is for Obama's presidential library, correct? Just gotta make sure on this one. Let me check. Yeah, it is. It is. It's for his. We're going to come back to that in just a minute, folks. Let's get back to the ticket prices. So ticket prices for other presidential libraries vary wildly by cost, ranging from $29 to visit Richard Nixon's Center to $12 for Jimmy Carter's. Other prices include $26 for George W. Bush, $25 for Ronald Reagan, $24 for John F. Kennedy, $16 for Lyndon Johnson, $14 for Gerald Ford, $12 for Bill Clinton, and $12 for George H.W. Bush. Very much seems like the presidents who are more popular, or at least perceived more popular, charging more for their tickets. Nobody really cares all that much about Jimmy Carter. $12 to see Jimmy Carter seems like a steal, right? A lot of people care about Reagan, though. $25 to go see Reagan. I don't know if I would pay it, but I get it. In addition to the closest to the costly entry price, the Obama Museum set records for the amount of time it took to be completed and total project cost, the journal reported. The Presidential Center, which sprawls over 19 acres, cost $850 million to construct, well over the initial estimate of $300 million. In comparison, around $500 million was raised for the George W. Bush Presidential Center. Still way too much for George W. Bush, I must say. Still way too much. But $850 million for this behemoth. This thing right here. I gotta put my architecture hat on for this, folks. I have a degree in architecture. I gotta put on my architecture hat for this. What truly is happening with this whole museum here? It looks like a monolith, which honestly could be a allegory for the Democratic voter base being a monolith. I don't know. Take that for what you will. But I gotta lean in, folks. I gotta lean in for a second. Pardon my forehead in your shot. What does it say on the side of the building? I see a whole bunch of what appears to be random words. I'm seeing nation of ours. Like, you can't even really read what it says. I'm serious, folks. I'm trying to lean in and look at this thing. I can't even tell what it says on the side of this building. They made this whole weird section that has like writing across. I'm assuming it's probably like I can't imagine it's the Constitution. They wouldn't want to have that on the side of their building. But maybe it's like maybe it's a Martin Luther King Jr. speech or something. Maybe it's an Obama speech. If it's an Obama speech, that would be kind of egotistical. But I would get it for the Obamas. What a freaking butt-ugly building that you have to choose. In comparison, here's Trump's building, by the way. Trump also has a presidential library. This is what the Trump presidential library is going to look like in Miami, Florida. It's going to have a freaking airplane on the inside of it, and a gold staircase. But look at how beautiful this building is. This looks like a modern skyscraper. It looks vaguely reminiscent of what I would expect a building built by Donald Trump to look like. It's got Trump written across the top of it, right? It feels very similar to a Trump tower. What a beautiful building, though. And you compare that to this behemoth, like, the Trump Presidential Library makes the Obama Presidential Library look like a freaking rock. Quite literally looks like a rock. It looks like you took a rock out of your garden and dropped it right on the ground. Crazy, crazy thoughts, I know. So, but So, the journal also found the Obama library is set to open. Oh, excuse me, read that already. Former President Joe Biden has so far struggled to raise money for his presidential center, while plans have already been constructed for President Donald Trump's library, which is set to be constructed on the waterfront in Miami, Florida. Can't wait. I just want to get that off my screen. Let's look at the Trump library for a little bit. I'm sorry, folks, for all the jump scares in this episode. But why anyone would want to go see the Joe Biden presidential library is beyond me. What would you even have in it? What artifacts and displays would you have in the Joe Biden presidential library? An auto pen? I don't know, right? An ice cream cone? Definitely no stairs. Can't be any stairs in the Joe Biden presidential library. Only ramps. No bikes either. No bikes, no stairs. That's the rules for the Joe Biden presidential library. Let's go back to Obama's, though. You need an ID to get an Illinois discount. So let's add that to the list. You know how we have a running list. Us Republicans, we got a running list going of all the things you need IDs for. Alcohol, car rentals, daycare, the list goes on. I already say alcohol, buying alcohol, getting into a club, right? Purchasing a gun, right? You need an ID for all these things. You need it to go to the Obama Presidential Library as well, by the way. Unless you don't want to get that $4 discount on your tickets. If you're fine paying the extra $4 for the ticket, don't need to show an ID for that one. But if you want to get that Illinois state discount, better have that ID ready. So the Obama Presidential Library is officially more secure to get into than a U.S. election. That's the show, folks, right there. That's the show. That's all I gotta say. That's the entire show. That's not all I gotta say. I got more to say on top of that. Who is going to go see this? Who's going to... Okay, by the way, here's the other thing. I gotta say. I got one more thing to say. We could have ended it right there. What a perfect show. I'm ruining the show now by continuing to babble on. The Democrats are constantly saying that black people are going to be disenfranchised if you have voter ID laws, right? So is Barack Obama the first and only black president so far to have a presidential library requiring residents to show an ID at the entrance, disenfranchising black Illinois residents because they may not have an Illinois driver's license. And in fact, he is actually stealing an extra $4 from them to go and see his presidential museum. $30, by the way, right? That's a lot to go see Obama stuff. I want to know if the Obama Presidential Library, I want to know if it'll have an exhibit about setting race relations back like 30 years, dividing a country. Will there be an exhibit on Hillary Clinton's disastrous time as Secretary of State? Will there be an exhibit on the disaster of Benghazi? So many questions. There's one exhibit that I would like to see, though. If they do not put a copy of Barack Obama's birth certificate on display in the museum, I will be disappointed. I wasn't going to go anyways, but if that's not there, I'm definitely not going. That's the show, folks. I'll see you all back here next Friday. Hope you enjoyed it. Have any questions, have comments, whatever, tweet at me on the show. Leave a comment down below. And we'll see you all next time. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to this channel. We're on Rumble as well. We're streaming this on X as well. Get out, watch the show, share with friends, and I'll see you all next Friday. And we will not be talking about the presidential library of Barack Obama. I can promise you that. See you, folks. Bye.